It has been revealed that Street Fighter 6 is presently under development. Street Fighter 6 appears to have undergone a near total overhaul from its aesthetic style to some brand new gameplay elements and a few new characters, giving the series a very optimistic outlook. Jeff Keighley first revealed fresh gameplay footage for the forthcoming Street Fighter game at the 2022 Summer Game Fest. Supporters of the action game were thrilled to learn that Guile, a beloved character from the series, will return in the teaser. In preparation for the 2023 release of Street Fighter 6, here's a recap on Guile's role throughout the entire series. Colonel William F. Guile serves as one of the main deuteragonists in the Street Fighter series. He is a colonel in the U.S. Air Force who wants to destroy the criminal group Shadaloo, while also looking for and discovering the whereabouts of his closest buddy, Charlie Nash, who M. Bison killed. Guile first appeared in Street Fighter 2 as one of the first 8 characters. Guile and his signature hairstyle have been icons ever since Capcom allegedly created the American hero to entice the American market to their combat series. Let's dig in further and explore the origins of Guile in our video today. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means an awful lot. Thank you. Let's begin. Guile History Explored. Let us find out how Guile looked in the entire series. According to early designs and notes, Guile may have been created in particular to appeal to Street Fighter 2 fans in the United States. With pale blue eyes, actually green in Street Fighter 5, and no eyebrows, at least until Street Fighter 6, Guile has a chiseled jaw, a perpetually unhappy look, and his most recognized feature, a notably tall, flat-top hairdo that helps him stand out physically from the various Asian fighters in the Street Fighter series. In Street Fighter 2, Guile's hair appears to be a reasonable length, yet in SNK vs. Capcom SVC Chaos, it appears to be ridiculously long. Guile's well-known hairstyle is said to be maintained using a special army hairspray, at least according to Capcom's source materials. However, he often adjusts it right away following a battle. Guile also has blonde eyelashes. Guile has tattoos of the American flag on each shoulder and is dressed in military fatigues. In accordance with US military tradition, the stars are placed on the left side of the flag to create the impression that it is flying towards conflict. In Japan, where there are several bases for the US Armed Forces, the sight of the uniformed American airman is well known. In Street Fighter 4, one of Guile's backup costumes is similar to Charlie's outfit, and Guile also sports Charlie's dog tag beside his own. Guile appears in Street Fighter 5 wearing a white military button-up shirt with dark blue insignia on each side, a dark blue tie with US emblems on each side, dark blue military pants, a black belt around his waist, and black combat boots. His standard outfit includes his distinctive sports sunglasses, a S.I.N ID with his entire name written on the right, and a golden eagle emblem on the left. In his second alternate outfit, he wears a brown flak vest over a blue-gray army uniform with the sleeves rolled up into cuffs, as well as a white undershirt. His first substitute costume is his standard Street Fighter 2 outfit. From his basic outfit, he still wears Charlie's dog tag, black combat boots, a black watch, and sports sunglasses. Guile now has facial hair, brows, a blue army sleeveless vest with badges, and matching jeans that mimic a military pilot outfit in Street Fighter 6. He wears yellow boots with green outlines that resemble sneakers, and a white sweater with the sleeves rolled up to make it sleeveless. Alongside his physical attributes, let us take a look at Guile's personality closely. Guile is a strong man who loves his family and is a devoted husband and father. He is tough, both physically and psychologically. Being a stoic at heart, his calm and indifferent facade really conceals strong emotions, particularly his rage following Charlie's passing. It is revealed that he is afraid of bears in Street Fighter X Tekken, and in Super Street Fighter 4, he declares that he only likes country music in his victory speech to DJ. Guile is portrayed in Street Fighter V as a stern and intense individual who constantly counsels others, especially Abel, on recklessness, courage, and the drive to survive in combat. He appears to be joyful during the sparring session between him and Charlie after they both manage to draw. His friendship with Charlie, however, suffers through the game's narrative when Charlie defeats Guile in battle. After saving Rashid and Charlie from Nikali and giving Charlie the dog tag necklace back, their relationship is renewed throughout A Shadow Falls. However, during the last attack on Shadaloo, Guile starts to feel very depressed and worried about Charlie's sacrifice. After the event, Guile supports Luke's choice to leave the military and treats him well when they spar during the character tale of the latter. Guile had different relationships with different fighters from the series. Let us take a quick look at the friends and foes of Guile throughout the series. Although their friendship and admiration for one another as persons and combatants are mutual, Guile and Ryu do not have a particularly tight connection. Nato was once offered to him by Ryu, and although he accepted, out of respect, he found it repulsive. As evidenced by one of the victory comments sent to Guile, Ryu appears to be aware of this. Ryu and Guile featured in a piece in the weekly Famitsu edition from November 1st, 2018, where they discuss their personal lives and opinions about one another. Ryu complains to Guile about being mistreated, although he has a fixed residence, the means to travel internationally, and the ability to lead a regular life while away. On the contrary, Guile was astounded. Even though Guile dislikes Ken's demeanor, as seen by a number of win comments and intro quotes, the two get along well. In Street Fighter IV, Ken extends an invitation to him, as well as his family, so that they may see his unborn child, and even fixes his terrible hair day. Charlie Nash, Guile's close friend and superior officer, taught him how to fight in the manner he does now. Guile holds a special place in his heart, and Nash gave up his life in a fruitless attempt to destroy Bison in order to rescue both Guile and Chun-Li. It is hinted that he still considers Guile a dear buddy in Street Fighter V despite his deranged mental condition. Charlie's transformation appears to have soured their connection, as Charlie says he has nothing else to say to him regarding his comeback in both of their win comments versus one another. This is also seen in the game's cinematic story mode, as Helen gives him the order to steal a unique chess piece from Guile in order to aid him in stopping the Shadaloo. Despite his horror at being ordered to fight Guile, he subsequently confronts Guile, Chun-Li, and Cammy icily, without offering any justification for his actions. Due to his patched-together look and aloof, vicious personality, Charlie is able to overwhelm Guile, who still doesn't entirely accept that this is indeed him. Later scenes, nevertheless, show the two rekindling their relationship, when Guile saves him from Nikali's pursuit. Guile, who looks to be mourning his closest friend's evident second and imminent demise, watches the Shadaloo fortress crumble at the conclusion of A Shadow Falls with sadness. Abel, who had seen Guile practice his sonic boom before they first met, inquired as to how Guile could do it. Guile questioned Abel about where he initially saw it, realizing that only Abel and his master Charlie could perform it. A battle broke out when Abel, who believed Guile to be a spy, stated that he wouldn't reveal his secrets to anybody and refused to talk. Although the outcome is unknown, it is assumed that Guile triumphed, or that Chun-Li convinced Abel to transport Guile, Cammy, and herself to the S.I.N camp later in the narrative, because he subsequently takes Guile, Chun-Li, and Cammy right there. Abel is a buddy of Guile in Street Fighter V. They collaborate with Guile, giving him advice and showing him what to do. Good friends, Cammy and Guile frequently work with Chun-Li to complete tasks, particularly ones involving Shadaloo. A bandaged Cammy is shown with Guile at the end of Street Fighter IV, The Ties That Bind, suggesting that he was in charge of supervising her recovery. His longtime associate and buddy was Chun-Li. Despite having opposing mindsets, Chun-Li and Guile have quite similar mentalities and outlooks on life. Guile and Dhalsim get along well, most likely partly because of how close their kids are. Guile serves as a tutor to Robert Sullivan's son, Luke, in memory of his slain comrades Charlie and Robert Sullivan. Guile advises the young officer to pursue competitive combat circuits across the world and engage more formidable opponents after Luke was permitted to quit the army. Guile loathes Bison for his atrocities against people and believes he killed his friend Charlie. Colin doesn't think much of Guile since he reminds her of warriors who wreaked devastation in her country. If Charlie Nash weren't under her and the Illuminati's control, she'd feel the same way about him. Guile wants to arrest Seth because, in view of his nefarious schemes, he is no different than Bison. Doctrine Dark, a former employee of Guile, holds him responsible for whatever happened to D-Dark and his squad and seeks retribution. Now, let us explore the backstory of Guile and how he came to be who he is in the series. Guile approached Charlie Nash, his senior officer, while still a student in the U.S. Air Force Academy, begging him to train him in his special combat style. Charlie accepted. Guile learned the skills, but because of his short temper, he wasn't as proficient as Charlie at using them. Charlie can blast sonic booms using one hand, while Guile requires both. Guile wasn't featured in the Street Fighter franchise until the incidents of Street Fighter Alpha 3, when he is referred to as Commander. The US Air Force orders Guile to find Charlie, his senior comrade and closest friend, who has vanished while participating in a covert investigation. Guile's quest finally brings him to Interpol agent Chun-Li, who cautions him against following Charlie since it may be dangerous. Guile displays his fighting prowess while assuring Chun-Li that he won't allow their friend to be hurt. Finally, he locates the Shadaloo stronghold in Thailand. Guile tells Charlie that the aircraft bombardment will start in an hour, and they don't need to stay any longer. Charlie, however, insists that M. Bison, the commander of the Shadaloo, will escape, and the two fight. The evil and strong M. Bison shows up and assaults the two airmen, but he can't stand a chance against their combined might. As a result of his forced retreat, he summons a gunship to hold and surround them and conceal his departure. The two decide that the Psycho Drive, M. Bison's center of strength, must be destroyed as they pursue him and follow him inside the base. The bombardment is then aborted, as per Chun-Li's command, who assumes that Bison utilized his connections to prevent the air assault. She continues by saying that while she has planted explosives in an effort to destroy the facility, she is doubtful if they would be sufficient. Charlie and Guile make the difficult decision to detonate explosives all around Psycho Drive as she attempts to flee to make sure that, more than anything else, it will at least be destroyed. M. Bison engaged in a fierce conflict with Ryu as well as his teammates as they prepared their assaults. In the end, Ryu triumphed against him, momentarily shattering his body and making M. Bison rebuild in the Psycho Drive. Charlie persuaded Guile to flee while he was holding off Bison, and Guile made it out just before the base exploded, with Charlie and Bison likely getting caught up in the blast. Bison had successfully rebuilt his body. Guile is finally discovered by Chun-Li and Ryu standing atop a mountain. Chun-Li speculates that Charlie could still be alive, much like she thinks her father might be. Guile affirms this and pledges to keep having faith in Charlie. In Street Fighter II, Guile is ready to get revenge on M. Bison, who had somehow survived the explosion, holding Bison accountable for the murder of his closest buddy. When the Shadaloo tyrant buys off all the jurors, allowing him to walk free, the lawsuit against him fails. By this point, Bison is seeking retribution against Chun-Li, Guile, and many other individuals who hampered the activities of his syndicate. He puts up the second World Warrior competition, intending to trap them in addition to other objectives. Guile accepts the bait and leaves his daughter and wife to carry out his revenge. In HD Remix and Ultra, Guile's finale shows him controlling Bison and making Charlie think about him. Bison challenges Guile to murder him without feeling remorse. Guile hesitatingly declines to kill Bison, claiming he is not a killer like him. 3 days later, Guile pays a visit to Charlie's grave, explaining that he has learned that seeking retribution would not bring Nash back, and that his fixation with seeking revenge devoured him and devastated his family. His wife, Julia, known as Jane in the previous games in the series, and his daughter, Amy, arrive and convince him to return home during this monologue. In his determination to become the best husband and parent that he can be, Guile hesitates before embracing Julia. Guile's hesitation at murdering Bison in the games that came before HD Remix and Ultra is overruled by Amy and Julia's appearance, who encourage him to let go of his retribution and go home. Refusing to commit murder like Bison, Guile realizes that he believes he is awakening from a protracted nightmare and goes back to his family. In pre-Super Street Fighter IV, Juri, a S.I.N agent, is on the rampage and creating significant damage until Chun-Li, Guile, and Cammy are called to a theme park to put an end to it. Chun-Li encounters Juri just as she murders a renegade S.I.N officer and a lady as Guile and Cammy work to free the captive villagers. Juri injures Chun-Li severely, but before she can put her to death, Guile and Cammy come, forcing her to leave because her fake eye isn't working properly. Following an anonymous tip, Guile and Cammy trace Juri to an ancient Shadaloo outpost where the 12 previous dolls are housed. Juri had just killed Julie and Junie and had already vanquished all 12 dolls when they came. After a bloody struggle, Juri manages to knock Guile out, leaving Cammy to confront her alone. Guile subsequently informs Chun-Li that they were unsuccessful in capturing Juri. Although Shadaloo seems to be dead in Street Fighter IV, Guile still thinks Charlie could be alive because Charlie's corpse was never found. Guile insists on being permitted to carry out the search by his superiors. He offers his resignation after his superior declines. Guile is taken aback when his boss rejects the resignation and assigns him to look into S.I.N, a group with possible links to Shadaloo. At first, Guile doubts that Shadaloo would continue to exist without Bison and its commander, but he quickly embraces his new task with passion. In an effort to infiltrate S.I.N's headquarters, the two participate in a new competition after enlisting Chun-Li in the inquiry. He meets a mystery French fighter by the name of Abel throughout the competition, who appears to be familiar with Guile's sonic boom technique. Since only Guile and Charlie are aware of the attack, Guile assumes that Abel is aware of Charlie's final fate and starts grilling him for details on where he witnessed the sonic boom. They fight because Abel is utterly uncomfortable divulging such private information to a stranger who may well be a spy. Although the fight's outcome is presently unknown, Guile appears to have prevailed because Abel is subsequently seen traveling to the S.I.N base with Guile and Chun-Li. Later, with the facility's self-destruction near, Chun-Li is imprisoned by Vega as Guile obtains crucial data within the S.I.N headquarters. Guile gets attacked by one of Bison's cyborgs while on his way to save Chun-Li, in the identical mold as Seth. Abel shows up and defeats the cyborg, informing Guile of wherever Chun-Li is and urging him to go quickly. It's unclear exactly how Chun-Li was saved after that. Gen appears to have shielded her from a landslide and then managed to escape the debris, but he is afterward nowhere to be found when Abel and Guile watch the base blow up with Chun-Li asleep in Guile's arms. After these things happen, Guile visits Charlie's grave and keeps a bottle of beer on it as a gesture of friendship. Even if S.I.N's goals have been thwarted, he tells the grave that he knows he hasn't yet had enough of Shadaloo. In October 2015, character meshes for Guile, Juri, Alex, Urian, Ibuki, Dalsim, and Balrog were discovered through data mining of Street Fighter V's PC beta test. At the PlayStation Experience on December 5th, 2015, Guile and the remaining characters, apart from Dalsim, who was already announced as a default combatant, were subsequently confirmed as DLC. On April 18th, 2016, Guile was introduced, revealing his V-Trigger, V-Skill, and critical art, in addition to a few random pictures. The next day, his debut trailer was released. He has been a playable character since April 28th, 2016. In the prologue tale, he rescues Abel, who is covert, after he's exposed by Fang, breaking up the battle before Fang gets a chance to harm Abel any further. Following a fight, Guile concludes that Shadaloo is responsible for the missing hackers. Fang warns Guile as he flees that he'll pay for meddling. Guile warns Abel not to chase after him since he will just lead him into further traps. Charlie gives him some advice from the past, knowing how hot-tempered he can be. Guile is aware of this and learns to maintain a warm heart while keeping a cool head throughout a fight. Back in the present, Guile and Abel collaborate to look into the disappearance of the hackers, while seeing that former S.I.N members are being kidnapped. When they get to the abandoned S.I.N laboratory, they also see Juri there. Juri tells them there is nothing of value in the lab when Abel teases her and asks what she's doing there. Much to their terrible surprise, Guile and Abel learn that Shadaloo's upcoming plan is Operation Chains, and the lab starts to fall apart. Guile saves Abel from being crushed by the rubble by saying he doesn't want his pals to perish. Abel feels relieved that Guile saved him when he got back to China. He engages Vega in combat after sensing his presence. Before fleeing, Vega warns him of the stage of death. Guile explains to Abel that fighting on the battlefield while maintaining control implies that they will prevail to the bitter end. General Byron Taylor, Guile's supervisor, is looking into the Black Moon, which exploded above New York and caused signal loss and blackouts in the game's primary narrative, A Shadow Falls. Guile alerts General Taylor to the possibility that the attack is related to the Shadaloo kidnapped hackers who have gone AWOL. Chun-Li joins him on a quest that General Taylor assigns him to New York. He and Chun-Li locate all 4 Shadaloo execs in New York. He attempts, unsuccessfully, to prevent Chun-Li from fighting. M. Bison knocks Chun-Li to the ground and she is on the verge of dying until Cammy rescues her and assists her in escaping with Guile. Later, Cammy discusses with Guile the significance of the 7 Black Moons and how they relate to the kidnapped hackers. She hands Chun-Li a copy of the Black Moon's keys. Charlie faces Guile after being revived and battles him for the key. Guile hurls a sonic boom in rage. Charlie overcomes Guile. Rashid and Azam follow Charlie as he grabs the key and heads out. Karen Kenzuki enlists Guile to thwart Shadaloo and their schemes. Guile and Zangief travel to India to retrieve the key that Zangief, who had previously obtained it, had given to a friend there. Once they obtain the key, Ed, Balrog, Santamu, as well as other Shadaloo warriors assault them. They make an effort to fend off Shadaloo, however Ed escapes with the key that was tucked away in Zangief's chest hairs. During the initial attack on the Shadaloo stronghold, Guile commands an escape chopper and meets up with Charlie. Guile is happy to see Charlie as they go back to the Kanzuki estate. They control Abel, who is affected by psycho power. Guile returns Charlie's dog tag as he departs to reunite with Rashid and Colin. Bison confronts Chun-Li and Guile during the last assault on Shadaloo. Charlie makes an appearance and defeats M. Bison. Guile stands idly by as Charlie attempts to slay Bison by sacrificing himself. Bison survives the kamikaze, therefore the sacrifice is ineffective. In the end, Rashid ends Operation Chains as a whole, enabling Ryu to kill M. Bison. Guile, Ryu, and Chun-Li flee the explosion together and rejoin the squad later. Guile does this, realizing M. Bison is gone completely. Guile in the 1994 Street Fighter movie. A civil war has broken out in Shadaloo, a country in Southeast Asia, between the armies of drug baron-turned-general M. Bison and the Allied nations under the command of Colonel William F. Guile. S.I.N. aid workers have been kidnapped by Bison, who demands a $20 billion ransom from Guile through a live two-way radio broadcast in 3 days. Guile rejects and swears to find Bison and bring him to justice for his atrocities, but his aide, Sergeant Cammy White, is only partially successful in locating Bison outside the city in the River Delta area. Colonel Carlos Charlie Blanca, a buddy of Guile's, is one prisoner who Bison has ordered to be brought to his laboratory so that his enslaved scientist and doctor, Dalsim, can create the very first of his super soldiers. Although the treatment leaves Charlie with a severely damaged appearance, Dalsim discreetly changes Charlie's brain programming to preserve his humanity. Ken Masters and Ryu Hoshi, two American con artists, provide phony weapons to arms trader Victor Sagat in an effort to defraud him. Sagat discovers the lie and orders Ryu to battle his cage hero, Vega, but Guile storms in and detains everyone for breaking the curfew. Guile sees Ryu and Ken battling Sagat's soldiers on the jail grounds and convinces them to cooperate with him in his search for Bison in return for their release, because Sagat is the source of Bison's weapons. By arranging a jailbreak and fabricating Guile's demise, they gain Sagat's trust and receive a homing device. However, the scheme is discovered by newscaster Chun-Li, whose dad was murdered by Bison, as well as her team, a retired sumo wrestler called Edmund Honda and the boxer Balrog, who really are seeking revenge on Sagat for destroying their careers. Despite Guile's protests, they attempt to kill both warlords at a celebration. Ryu and Ken thwart the assassination and disclose the plotters to Bison in order to keep his faith. When Bison gets back to his base, he accepts Ken and Ryu into his organization, orders the imprisonment of Honda and Balrog, and has Chun-Li brought to his quarters. Balrog and Honda are freed from their incarceration by Ken and Ryu, who then hurry to attack Bison while he is battling Chun-Li. However, Bison manages to escape and release sleeping gas, knocking them all out. Guile, meanwhile, prepares to attack Bison's headquarters.
Who wants to go home? And who wants to go with me?
Guile and his devoted warriors nonetheless carry out the job, despite being hindered by the deputy secretary of the S.I.N, who notifies him that the choice has been made to pay Bison the ransom. A security officer discovers Dalsim at the base. During the subsequent melee, Charlie is set free and murders the security man to save Dalsim. Guile enters the lab covertly and runs into Charlie when he gets there. Guile is about to kill Charlie to put an end to his misery when Dalsim intervenes. Guile confronts Bison's soldiers until the S.I.N troops show up as Bison prepares to execute the captives by releasing Charlie on them. Guile issues the command to free the prisoners when Bison makes it obvious that he won't submit quietly, and then challenges Bison to a battle. Ken and Ryu defeat Vega and Sagat as Bison and Guile battle. Sagat and DJ, Bison's computer expert, leave through a hidden route. When discovering from DJ that Bison is indeed the real adversary, Zangief, Bison's bodyguard, stops fighting Honda and joins Ken and Ryu to free the prisoners. Bison gets electrocuted by Guile after gaining the upper hand and kicking him into a group of hard drives. After being brought back to life by a resurrection system, Bison shows that his suit has enhanced automatic first aid systems and electrical weapons that include superconducting boots that allow him to fly. These tools give Bison the upper hand so he can brutally defeat Guile. Guile retaliates by stomping Bison into his screen wall, which explodes as he prepares to deliver the final blow. This seems to kill Bison and overwhelm the facility's superconducting system for storing energy. Although the captives are freed, Guile stays behind to persuade Charlie and Dalsim to accompany him back. Dalsim wants to make amends for his role in mutating Charlie, but they reject. Guile escapes the detonating base and meets up with his friends. After the credits roll, it is shown that Bison has survived the explosion.
We've been investigating this from all angles, such as a criminal organization was behind it.
than the
Guile Street Fighter II, the animated movie, 1994. In the prologue, Ryu, a Japanese martial artist, and Sagat, a Muay Thai champion, fight until Ryu uses a Shoryuken, a rising uppercut blow propelled by ki spiritual force, to badly scar Sagat across the chest. Sagat charges towards Ryu in a fury. Ryu nonetheless proclaims victory by using his Hadouken move, which involves charging his ki strength into his palms and releasing it as a strong energy blast. Sagat swears vengeance. After a justice minister is killed by a hypnotized MI6 agent, Cammy White, a few years later, Interpol agent Chun-Li recommends that they work with the US military to take down the mysterious criminal organization known as Shadaloo. When Chun-Li subsequently reveals that M. Bison murdered her father several years ago, and that she too wants retribution but understands that her job comes first, Captain Guile, who is out to get revenge on M. Bison for the loss of his closest friend, finally concedes. In the Shadaloo stronghold, Bison orders a global quest for Ryu with the help of his bodyguards, Vega, Balrog, and Sagat. He also sends out dozens of surveillance cyborgs to identify additional useful combatants for their cause. Nevertheless, Ryu, who's traversing the globe in search of deserving rivals like Dalsim, Fei Long, as well as E. Honda, manages to avoid detection by repressing his ki. Ken Masters, Ryu's American closest buddy and fighting adversary, still longs for a terrific game and wants a rematch with Ryu. A monitor cyborg observes Ken during a battle with T-Hawk, who'd already sought Ken out to challenge him. The fight's video is uploaded to the Shadaloo base, where Bison views the video and learns about Ken and Ryu's past interactions. He plans to track down Ken and hypnotize him in place of Ryu. After seeing Guile and Chun-Li warn DJ about monitor cyborgs and murder one of them in the process, Bison orders Vega to assassinate Chun-Li in New York. Vega ambushes Chun-Li in her home, but after a violent struggle, she pushes Vega through the building's wall, causing him to fall to his death. She is, however, seriously injured and goes into a coma. Guile shows up and drives her right away to the hospital. Interpol informs him about Ken and Ryu, and Guile goes to Thailand to alert Ryu, who is practicing in the hills with E. Honda. Guile also discovers that Bison has kidnapped Ken. But Bison pursues Guile and challenges them. He places Ryu under the hypnosis of Ken, who initially shows no signs of resistance. Guile meets Bison and suffers a terrible beating, but Bison grants his life as nothing more than the last blow while Honda fights Balrog. Ken's mind is torn apart by memories of their history as Ryu gets ready to avenge him, and he manages to escape Bison's mind control. After casting Ken into the distance with his psycho power, the infuriated Bison turns his focus to Ryu, who struggles to defeat him. Ken fixes his body using the key teachings of his teacher before rejoining the battle. Ken and Ryu ultimately subdue Bison with their combined strength and launch a simultaneous Hadouken at him, seemingly killing him. Balrog is vanquished by Honda, who also saves Guile and Balrog. Shortly later, the US military finds and destroys Bison's base's entrance, probably detaining all of Bison's lieutenants and bringing Shadaloo to an end. What makes Guile so strong? The core of Guile's combat strategy is carefully predicting the opponent's upcoming move before striking. He possesses a potent blend of reliable mobility, air grabs, and good attack and defense. However, Guile is vulnerable to sweeping and aerial assaults if he is tricked into employing his skills at the incorrect time. In contrast to the remainder of the cast, Guile's moveset has stayed relatively the same over the course of his appearances. His two special attacks are the Flash Kick and the Sonic Boom. Both attacks need a charge action, therefore integrating them into combinations takes some expertise and regular usage of unavoidable maneuvers like jump-ins. Guile is recognized for attempting to space his adversary more than gaining an attacking edge, since playing Guile offensively is more difficult than playing him defensively. Maintaining one abreast of his opponent and properly executing his defensive patterns is crucial. Although he may appear to have a few alternatives, he has a vast variety of unique attacks, making him far from predictable. His special moves are employed in combination with techniques like Knee Bazooka, Spinning Back Knuckle, and Guile High Kick to misdirect the opponent, control space, or deal more damage when appropriate. The secret to effective Guile play is knowing when to employ these alternatives. While Guile does have his two independent special moves in Street Fighter V, he now has 3 new ways to use them in battle. Faultless Move allows him to maintain his charge while moving. Sonic Blade, his V skill, allows him to spin up the energy to produce a static catapult that can also charge up his Sonic Booms. And Solid Puncher, his V trigger, allows him to throw Sonic Booms continuously. Guile is among the most most well-known characters in combat games and is particularly renowned for his varied command controls and combo skills. He also happens to be one of the most famous fighting game characters to possess a dual-hitting sweep, although just one can be unblocked. Despite their comparable powers, his gameplay is often different from Charlie's. When Guile presses the punch button in Street Fighter VI within 4 dimensions of the previous directional input, Sonic Boom causes more damage and is more pronounced than its standard equivalent. His Sonic Cross and Blade are back in the game as special moves now. The Double Flash, also known as the Somersault or Flash Kick Strike, is Guile's hallmark super combo, in which he executes 2 or 3 flash kicks in quick succession. He also wields the Sonic Hurricane, a short-range cyclone missile that traps opponents if he strikes. In certain games, it has a little vacuum effect. The ability first appeared in Street Fighter Alpha 3. He now has an anti-air missile that is an upward diagonal variation of the Sonic Hurricane thanks to Street Fighter VI. Guile may employ the opening gambit in the Street Fighter EX series, which consists of many punches followed by a sideways flash kick. Sonic Boom Typhoon is the name of his meteor combination in the EX series, in which he summons a massive Sonic Boom Tornado that deals a lot of damage. He obtains another super combo named Total Wipeout in Capcom vs SNK, enabling him to deliver a series of punches that culminate in a backhand blow that sends the opponent away. In Super Street Fighter IV, his ultra combos include the Sonic Hurricane and the Flash Explosion, which consists of a double flash kick followed by another flash kick to hit the opponent as they drop from the air. In Street Fighter V, Guile has a move called Sonic Tempest that causes significantly more harm than Sonic Hurricane and gets a damage and range increase while his V-trigger is activated. Guile also utilizes the Sonic Hurricane as his critical art, comparable to Charlie's Judgment Saber, which utilizes Sonic Hurricane in a vertical fashion by smashing behind his adversary's head after being enveloped in a black mist. This ability employs Sonic Hurricane. In Street Fighter VI, Guile transforms his Solid Puncher V-trigger from Street Fighter V into his level 2 super art. The Sonic Hurricane is brought back as level 1, and a new super move called the Crossfire Somersault is added. In this move, Guile launches the adversary into the air using a flash kick, keeps them there with a charged Sonic Boom, and then knocks them back down with another flash kick. In the Crossfire Double Somersault critical art variant, he finishes the opponent with a second flash kick.
Listen, if you don't want to get hurt, play dead and don't get up.
Marvelous appearances of Guile in other media. In the Street Fighter Resurrection episode Fight and Flight, Ken referred to Guile. Street Fighter World Warrior will have Guile, and Joey Ansa has said that he prefers Scott Adkins to play the character. The primary character in the Street Fighter anime series is Guile, who is portrayed as the boss of a group of Street Fighters that includes Blanka, Chun-Li, Ryu, T-Hawk, Ken, DJ, Cammy, Fei Long, and Dhalsim. Following the happenings of this movie, M. Bison prevails in their fight, and Guile's only objective is to eliminate Bison finally. Guile and Chun-Li are tasked with defeating Bison, whose organization, Shadaloo, also known as Shadow Law in the English version, has been abducting martial artists and brainwashing them to carry out his evil will in Street Fighter II, the animated movie. At first, Guile is not at all pleased to collaborate with another individual on the case, adamantly declaring that Bison's ass is mine, but with time, a bond develops between the two partners. Throughout Street Fighter II 5, Guile is an Air Force Technical Sergeant, E6, who spends much of his time physically exercising and who takes tremendous pleasure in his Air Force job. After Ken and Ryu beat up several of his guys, he engages Ryu in a pub brawl, despite the fact that Guile's men were the ones who instigated the altercation when Ken snatched one of their girlfriends. Guile overcomes Ryu with ease, only to run into Ken, who confronts him at an Air Force facility to get revenge on Ryu. Guile defeats Ken, despite suffering from a terrible hangover, inspiring the pair to begin their training adventure and advance their martial arts talents by competing against opponents across the globe. Guile is given a pivotal role alongside Chun-Li in Udon comics, especially in the first arc, although he also frequently appears in the following arcs. Similar to the canonical narrative, Guile is pursuing Shadaloo in order to find Charlie Nash, a friend from the Air Force, and find out where he is.
Rev on!
Marvelous verdict. The news that Guile will appear in Street Fighter VI indicates that the narrative of the Air Force General is far from over. Even though Capcom acknowledged that the future game is set after the happenings of Street Fighter III Third Strike, those events really occur after the 5th entry of the Street Fighter series. It would be fascinating to watch how Guile's plot develops without his closest buddy and his arch nemesis driving it, because Street Fighter III was among the rare games not to include Guile. The release of Street Fighter VI on PC, PlayStation 5, PlayStation 4, 2024, and Xbox Series X and S is scheduled for 2023. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. This has been Corey Whelan for Marvelous Videos. Have a good one, be safe out there, and thanks for watching.
Predictable.